URCA says the answer is no. Ahead tonight, the standoff that could result after the utility regulator denies a cable rate hike.
A Jamaican woman is placed before the courts. The salacious details coming up.
And fed-up Anatole Rogers teachers stage a sit-out. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Consumers will not see any increases to their basic monthly cable bills anytime soon. Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley.
And I'm Kendino Knowles.
The Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority, URCA, has denied an application made by Cable Bahamas Limited for a permanent price increase for its super basic cable television service.
Our Carissa Robinson outlined some of URCA's key reasons for denying the application and its plan to improve consumer protection and quality of service moving forward.
When Cable Bahamas submitted its formal application, it was followed by a wide range of public consultations. And for the most part, URCA says Bahamians were not at all accepting of the increases requested by the company. A 27% hike that would have meant a $8 per month increase for residential consumers and $13.50 more for commercial ones.
URCA's decision hinged largely on Cable Bahamas' failure to meet the universal service obligation in the Communications Act, which requires Cable Bahamas to provide an affordable basic television service comprising at least 6 channels, including ZNS and the Parliamentary Channel, to all populated areas in the Bahamas. URCA feels that such a package could readily have been provided in all areas where CBL currently offers its super basic television package, but CBL has persistently failed to do so.
Not only that, the regulators say CBL never sought to comply with obligations or provide any grounds which would explain why it has failed to comply during the intervention period.
The proposed increase would detrimentally affect that portion of the Bahamian public that can least afford the services, on whom the affordability requirement imposed by the universal service obligations are most intended to benefit.
Director of Policy and Regulation Stephen Barrow highlighted the next steps for URCA in light of issues raised in Cable Bahamas' application and public consultation.
Some of these comments and complaints included comments about late payment fees and reconnection fees, comments about the manner in which premium television packages were introduced, charges for set-top boxes, poor service coverage, particularly in the Family Islands.
Now, all of those issues of quality and protection, not exclusive to Cable Bahamas, has prompted URCA to comprehensively address issues of consumer protection and service quality in the Bahamas.
We are concerned that better service can be provided by the service providers in the Bahamas, but also we're concerned that it's not there already. That we don't have in place a set of clear guidelines, so that when a matter is raised, whether in a public consultation or directly with URCA, it is clear whether the service provider is doing what they're meant to do or not. What we want to do is ensure that we at least meet best practice standards that are acceptable anywhere.
Now, URCA's decision to deny Cable Bahamas' application is not necessarily something that is set in stone. If the company reapplies and meets certain requirements, an approval by URCA could be possible. Carissa Robinson, ZNS Network News.
Meantime, the cable company is expressing shock over URCA's decision to deny its request for an increase and plans to challenge URCA's decision. In a statement issued late this afternoon, Cable Bahamas called URCA's decision extremely disappointing and unbelievable. The company's disappointment, it says, is based on the fact that it hasn't had an increase in almost 2 decades. In its release, the cable company also expressed frustration over the process and says despite compelling evidence from Cable Bahamas that the rate increase was below the cumulative rate of inflation, URCA still denied its request.
Now, the cable company also brought into question URCA's priorities and efficiency, arguing that it has taken 15 months to reach this point. Cable Bahamas went on to suggest URCA based its refusal on parameters outside the scope and intent of its own rules, and further suggested that URCA also needed to be supervised. Cable Bahamas says it will now evaluate URCA's decision carefully and will explore all possible regulatory and legal options. Well, the Bahamas might be a hub for human trafficking, but today, a 23-year-old Jamaican woman became the first suspect to be charged with the crime. Fern Carey has the salacious details of the plot the woman is accused of masterminding.
23-year-old Jamaican national Chevanice Hall, also known as Sasha, arrived at court in handcuffs to answer to 6 human trafficking-related charges. According to prosecutors, Hall is the first person to be charged in the Bahamas with human trafficking. In court, Chief Magistrate Roger Gomez charged Hall with recruiting, transporting, transferring, and facilitating the arrival of Travis Mundell and Crystal Menz from Jamaica into the Bahamas between January 10th and January 18th, and then withholding their Jamaican passports in an attempt to exploit them by having them engage in prostitution. Hall is also accused of threatening to kill Crystal Menz. She was not required to enter a plea to the charges. Following the arraignment, the prosecutor objected to bail on the grounds that the 23-year-old Jamaican is a flight risk. He also expressed concerns about the safety of the victims and indicated that local and international authorities are still looking for other persons involved in the matter. But Hall's attorney disagreed and argued that she has already spent 2 weeks in custody and has no criminal history locally or in Jamaica. However, bail was denied and the defendant was remanded to prison because she is considered a flight risk. She returns to court on May 3rd for service of VBI papers. Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
The Minister of National Security is assuring the public that the government remains committed to ensuring that the constitutional rights of its citizens and residents are protected. The statement by Dr. Bernard Nottage comes on the heels of 2 deaths in police custody on Friday and Saturday. The first suspect, a 33-year-old, died at the Central Detective Unit on Friday after he was taken in for questioning on a number of matters. And the 21-year-old, in a separate and unrelated incident, died while at a cell at the Southern Police Station. To ensure that the investigations are transparent and impartial, the Minister of National Security says both cases were immediately referred to Coroner Linda Virgil. Additionally, because the matters are the subject of judicial inquests, the minister says public statements from him and the police force must be limited to ensure the proceedings aren't prejudiced. Dr. Nottage is also extending condolences to the families of both victims.
In our first look at weather, warmer days ahead, but outside of our studios just now, we have a temperature of 75 degrees, relative humidity 65% with just a few clouds, winds out of the southeast at 6 knots, barometric pressure 1,023.1 millibars, is 30.21 inches, and it is rising. But stay tuned, we have temperatures around the family violence, travel, and boating forecast still to come.
Teachers at the Anatole Rogers High School held a sit-in at the campus today over what BUT officials say are a myriad of issues which need to be addressed. But officials say there's one pressing concern that needs immediate attention as it's impacting the well-being of teachers and students. Fern Carey has details.
Some 80 teachers at Anatole Rogers High School staged a sit-in Monday in an effort to bring attention to what Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson says are major concerns over their health and safety due to toxic smoke emanating from a scrap metal yard located directly in the back of the school. Wilson says the problem has been going on for months and teachers are simply fed up.
The teachers, many of whom have been out absent for weeks, some are experiencing the burning of the nose and the tightness of the chest. And what we would have done from November, I was able to have the permanent secretary along with the minister and his team agree that the teachers at this school who experience any medical conditions from the smoke inhalation, they would be allowed to get medical assistance that would be paid for by the government. They would also be able to sign out if they had to, if they could not manage the smoke or the air, that they will be able to sign out and seek help.
But smoke inhalation isn't the only concern here at Anatole Rogers. Educators are also concerned about the mold, which they say is widespread throughout the school. The educators took us on an unofficial tour of the campus, and apparent mold was visible in the bathroom, in the lunch area, the science lab, and in some classrooms.
However, there's been no environmental study for the mold. We are also asking for our teachers to be able to go and be tested to make sure that they're healthy. And what amazes me so much is that the school was dismissed last year several times for the smoke, but the parents do not seem to step up to the plate, and it always has to be as if the union has a personal problem with a principal or with personnel at the Ministry of Education. We're asking parents to step up to the plate for once and come and see about their children at Anatole Rogers School. Because yes, the teachers are suffering, but the children are also being negatively affected by the smoke and the mold.
Wilson also noted that a teacher is needed for the special education unit. However, she said the morale of teachers at the school is low due to what she claims is a lack of cooperation from the principal.
The major problem that we're having is the cooperation, the lack of cooperation of the principal in particular. And it's really causing the teachers' morale to be low and the smooth operation of the school to be negatively affected.
Now, we tried to speak with the principal. However, members of the media were escorted off the campus by police and told a statement would be forthcoming. Meantime, Wilson says teachers will continue holding meetings until their issues are resolved. Vern Carey, ZNS Network News.
Well, still to come tonight, the church reaching out to the unemployed.
And a special ceremony held today to honor outstanding public servants. That and more in a moment.